And welcome to another episode of Funny Talk with Mangelli and Max, the closest thing you'll get to entertainment this side of the Mississippi. I'm Tom Mangelli, and this is my co-host, Doug Max.
Hey, Tom, how are things up north?
Oh, pretty good. I got a new eye doctor.
I'm glad. Yeah, you look lovely. Listen, our guest tonight is a very, very old, dear friend of mine. I call him a friend. He probably hates me, but he agreed to be on the show. So I'm going to call him an old, dear friend, see where that gets us. Michael Burlew. Welcome, Michael.
Hey, pleasure to be on the show, guys. Now, being from Georgia, when you bring up this side of the Mississippi, and since I'm technically on the southern side, I have to question what you're trying to say about my people.
Sorry.
I mean, we're a divided country as is, and you're claiming all this stuff about your side of the Mississippi. I mean, come on now. I mean, I got to watch out for all my southern peeps now.
Michael, you just said something that gave me possibly a brilliant political idea and solution to the problems in this country. Yes, Tom? Don't shake your head. And you got to take those off eventually because they're really bug eyes. For those listening on audio, he's got, I don't know what they are. Describe those frog eye glasses.
I don't know.
So people, Michael, you talked about the country being divided. And so presumably the solution is for us to be united, right?
Okay. Sounds fair.
Maybe we're not going to be united. We're too divided. They're two strong blocks. So perhaps the solution is for us to divide ourselves more. East and west of the Mississippi, north and south of the Mississippi, or of Georgia. Now you've got a quadrant. We could keep on dividing.
Well, the problem that you kind of get is there are certain areas that if you try to break it up evenly, it's not going to really work out. Like if you legitimately just said south, then California is going to have a couple complaints there. If you try to do like the north where they are, then you got like Washington up there and the northeast.
No, you, I, and Tom are all really smart. We'll create a triumvirate. If there are any problems with border issues, we'll figure them out. We'll decide them. Okay?
Maybe we can draw them like the counties where they just make a squiggly line that looks absolutely ridiculous and looks like ovaries, and people question how you came up with that, and you just go, I just want to win the next election.
Ovary look is the only way to get my people elected. That's what you got to go for,
The U.S. of U, I like it.
What was the book that they did that? They separated the United States into 4 areas. East Asia, was that 1984?
Yes.
Think so.
It was the whole world, and it was East Asia and Eurasia, and every week the wars, the countries we were battling and who was the good and bad changed every week. It was exactly like it is today.
I'm gonna have to reread that book.
Sales of that book went up, and I reread it not long ago, and everything, the Department of Peace was really the Department of War. The Department of Truth was the propaganda department that wrote lies. Everything.
Well, now 1984 represents a new number for me. It's my blood sugar level.
Is that the milligrams per liter, Tom?
I don't know.
Yeah, you made it up. I like your Aurora Borealis background. Did you see the aurora when it supposedly was coming down south to New Jersey?
Oh.
Stephanie was all excited about that. Oh, Aurora Borealis coming. And then there were news that the stories of that were fake. So somebody created this fake story. A meteorologist, no less.
See, that's a troll I can kind of honor. Like some of the cruel stuff you can do, like how they make people change votes or whatever you do. Just the fact that you could say you got thousands of people in New Jersey, like looking in a telescope at 3 a.m. at the sky. That's something you can brag about. Like that's something where like, even if I met the guy, I'd be like, oh, you no good son of a I'm going to buy you a beer. That was good. That was good.
So speaking of that, I don't know if I should say because I'm Jewish, but have you guys seen, I don't know if
Jewish?
at it. Have you guys seen the celestial wonder in the southwest sky last night, tonight, and tomorrow night? The Christmas star where Jupiter and Saturn are aligned, and it looks like one big bright star.
I read the article, and it's one of those I'll go, ooh, I'm going to do it, and then like a week from now, I'm just going to go, God dang it.
Remember, as soon as the show is over, as soon as we stop recording, go out and look southwest. Have you done Southwest Vista, Tom?
Doug, you keep mentioning airlines. You talked about United, the country's not being united. Now you're talking Southwest. Are you?
Come on, Tom, have the spirit.
You know, I used to be a runway model at the airport.
Really?
Yeah, I was a wide body.
I was going to say, speaking of running, Michael does something, Tom, you and I have been doing ever since we met. Michael and his lovely wife have been running marathons. Tom, how many marathons have you and I done together?
I've done 2 marathons this year, Honeymooners and Twilight Zone.
I mean, how much did you have to like hydrate during the whole thing? You know, was it rough for you? Like, were you chewing down like nutrient bars and stuff like that to get through it?
Yeah, that's what happened.
You know what's good for me to get through is I Love Lucy, because every time I see her, I appreciate how strong she was as a comedian.
Now,
I just got a question. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say I always notice you and I was gonna say Stephanie. By the way, I'm 59 years old and I totally blank on names anymore, so don't hold the person. But you're
you
always
can
running
screw up
these
the name. I better not screw up her name.
Yeah, really.
That's an awkward moment.
You're always running these 5K races, 10K races. Why?
Well, I mean, with the running, she kind of started it off with it, and it was she got like on an exercise craze, and she wanted to kind of do running because, like everybody says, and all that's the cheapest form of exercise. If you don't want to go to a gym or something like that, anybody can run anywhere. So she started getting into it, and I wasn't into it. I kept on saying, no, I don't do running. It's not my thing. I get out of breath too fast or whatever. Then it's the kind of, come to the track me. Okay, fine. And it's like, oh, okay, I can do a mile. Okay, I can do 2 miles. And then it's like, oh my God, we can do a 5K. No, I don't want to do a 5K. Come on. Drags me down there, does a 5K. Oh, since we do a 5K, we can do a 10K. No, that's too much time. I don't feel like doing it. Fast forward about 6 months later. No, I don't want to do a marathon. And then, goddamn, I did a marathon. And this is more of a hardcore marathon. It wasn't a scheduled marathon. It was literally running 13.1 miles one way and coming back. So that's the marathon where even you go, ooh, I don't feel so good. It's like you don't have any options.
Yeah.
You can't just say, Siri, bring my car around. I'm 6.9 miles in the woods.
With 2 cars, you could do it. Plant one at the end of the first 13.1. And the other
one car family.
I get winded just driving 13.1 miles. I did a special K. I kept spilling my cereal.
It's just all mental. I mean, that's what I tell people. It's like if you can sit back and convince your brain, like looking at like landmarks and stuff like that, your brain will kind of go, okay, this ain't too bad. It's when your brain's not in a good spot, like I would say the last month or so that we've been doing it, because with everything going on with the pandemic, when you first go through it, you're like, oh, we got tons of time, we can do whatever, we can run, and you feel great. Then about 4 or 5 months in, the brain literally goes, okay, this is not my reward. There's not, let's do 12 miles and go, okay, let's call that the highlight of my day kind of deal. So And that's what we've been, because that's why I've been kind of like lowering it down a little bit. But I mean, it's good exercise. It's fun, and it's fun doing races because, I mean, people are out there cheering for you, and I don't take it seriously my time. So I spend most of the time, like, when people bring their pets, I'm running over to them and petting their dogs for like 10 minutes.
See, when I feel the need to exercise, I just go to IHOP.
So before we forget to thank our sponsor,
go ahead.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Jack Hoffman of J. Irwin Productions. If you want a comedy show, a fundraiser, you want a comedian to come and perform for you in the kitchen while you're doing an event, an anniversary, because you're some kind of weirdo, and why would you want a comedian in the kitchen? Jack will find you somebody, and during these COVID times, hire a comedian to come and do your floors. We can find him to do your bathroom. Listen, I know comedians they'll drive 2 hours to do 5 minutes for free and drive home again. They'll clean your bathroom for $15. It's a good, right to Jack at J. Irwin.
I mean, the acoustics in the toilet are amazing. It's like you're up there with a microphone on stage, so it all works out.
It's like doo-wop comedy.
You know what I do to emulate the sounds of a live studio audience? I put a pillow.
Lock yourself in a silent room?
Yeah, I was going to say pillows on either side. Hey.
Oh, Dougie.
Mock me before I mock me. So, Michael, I remember your posting about NASCAR, and we had an interesting little tete-a-tete back when they found the noose in the garage, and then it turned out the day or two after there was no place for racism in NASCAR, which I thought was great. And the noose perpetrator wasn't found, but
they had a little roller coaster there, NASCAR, for a while. It started with one driver got suspended for the year for jokingly said the N-word during an internet race. That was interesting. And on a side note, he was the one Asian driver in NASCAR who decided to just drop it for fun. Apparently,
wait, that's a joke right in itself. An Asian driver.
Yeah, I mean he's part Asian. Yeah, he's part Asian. Kyle Larson. He was doing iRacing, where they do it basically video games over the internet, and he was trying to talk to his buddy who was the spotter, and he's like, Jim, and jokingly he just said, "Oh, you N-word," and then he had the awkward moment where somebody goes, Kyle, you're on the group chat. So that cost him his career for about a year.
Can we back up? This was in an internet race, not a real race.
Yes. So
real car racer.
Yeah. So the setups now for like at-home racing is pretty equivalent to like stuff like being in the cockpit of the car for live and all. That's how like a lot of drivers before they go to a racetrack, they'll go into iRacing just to get an idea of the braking and so forth.
I followed Formula One since I was 5 years old, so I'm familiar with this. I know the drivers race virtually.
I followed the ice cream truck since I'm 2.
Same.
That's the one way Tom will do a 500.
That's right.
Did you see the clip of Roman Grosjean's car getting split in half?
Yeah, that was pretty scary.
That doesn't happen in internet racing, or if it does, you don't have to worry,
Yeah, I mean that's why they got features in there, because a lot of times when the drivers say I give up, they'll turn their car around and just slam into another car just to laugh at them taking out their buddy on internet racing. But we went from that to the whole thing with the noose at the garage, which was just a knot. But I will say, like, looking at the pictures, I can understand what everybody was thinking of, and it was in the one garage that happened to be assigned to Bubba Wallace. It was one of those wild, crazy coincidences. Yeah. And this was coming off them banning the Confederate flag, which had another layer to that.
You can buy a street from every NASCAR venue, from what I understand. Right? Is that true?
What's that?
They say you can buy Confederate flags across the street from every NASCAR track.
Oh, yeah. Like, I gone to plenty of races. I mean, pretty much, like, the road into the track, there'll be a bunch of trailers out there selling different paraphernalia, like, before the track, so they're not associated with NASCAR. But, yeah, for the most part, I mean, they'll sell anything from jackets or whatever to some of them will do Confederate flags. Now, I'm not going to say, like, every trailer has a Confederate flag or anything like that, but I will say it won't be impossible to obtain.
Do you think I would be safe at a NASCAR race if I dressed like Diana Ross and wore a Jewish star on my sequin pencil dress?
Yeah, 100%. Like I think it was about 12 years ago, NBC tried to do like a sting operation with NASCAR where they had some people who were Muslim go to the race, and they had like hidden cameras, and basically they were setting up for, all right, we're ready to see all these rednecks gonna scream blah blah blah, you Arab this and that, and pretty much they went to the race and everybody they talked to was cordial and nothing happened. But
I remember a scene from Borat where I forget he went to a rodeo or something like that. He was trying to troll them.
I will say, like, it was a culture shock for my wife to go to a race because we went on my birthday weekend last year, and we went to Talladega, which is in Alabama. And I've been to plenty of NASCAR events and never really, like, bought into what everybody says about, like, the stereotypical NASCAR fan or whatever. I will legitimately say Talladega is the pure stereotype. I am talking wall-to-wall Republican, Southern accent, 80 beers before the race, 80 beers during the race, 80 beers after the race. Every possible Southern stereotype you can come up with, we pretty much saw there, which freaked out my wife. Now, nothing happened. They were totally cordial, but it was just the culture shock of my wife seeing this. Like, she had to go to the bathroom, and there was a porta potty, like, in the middle of in the grass where we parked, and she was going in, and, like, people said, whoa, woo, you got paid a toll before you go in there. Before he dropped something, he got paid a toll. And she was, like, scared, like somebody owned the porta potty or something like that. And it was such a weird event. So the only way I can get her back to the track is I promised her the next time we go, we will play a game called Rate the Redneck, where we will look at somebody and just basically have to give a grade. And then at the end of the race, when we're in the car, we'll have to give our top 5 rednecks for the event.
That's good. And you could do a podcast. You know, we haven't talked about you. Let's go back a little bit. So Michael Burlew and I were together on a radio show. I forget the name of it. We were on together for maybe, 2 years together? And the show could have...
I would say close to 3. Close to 3, even.
We could have gone somewhere, except somebody was a moron and a sociopath, and so it didn't go anywhere.
That was an interesting time.
Wait a minute. I'm not done with your bona fides. You are also the co-host of the world's second longest running podcast, Global Shenanigans, where you've interviewed such luminaries as the guy that got his arm bit off by a hippopotamus.
That's correct. That's correct. He
I only bit a hand.
And
basically,
Lana, the dwarf biathlete, Olympian. Never mind, I made her up.
I was about to say, you have a better memory than I do of my show. But Yeah, 6 years.
Very interesting guests of Luminaries with your co-host, the lovely Scott Brennan.
Yeah, it's been a great time. We've been doing now for 6 years. The last 2.5 with me being in Georgia and him up in New Jersey. Still been running strong. Had a great run. Of all things to go yay about 2024, we had a great run of guests in 2020 just from the fact that nobody could go anywhere. So now they were finally saying yes to podcast interviews. But yeah, I mean, we had like Scott Page of Pink Floyd. We had Butterbean. We've had some.
Butterbean is. Sorry.
Butterbean, he was. You may know him as like the big, fat, bald, white boxer who was like literally known for short 3-round fights where he would just destroy people. If you looked him up.
I fought him in the 90s.
You know, I did a show with Rich Carucci down in the Seaside Heights, and there was a guy in the audience that looked just like Butterbean. So, of course, I called him Butterbean throughout my entire act. And to this day, they're still calling him Butterbean.
Yeah, but I mean, we had a crazy amount of guests, and we still get weird stuff. Like one of my favorites was we found the cheese lady, she's called, where her whole career is just building sculptures out of big piles of cheese, and like that's what she's totally known for. She's been to like the Super Bowl, she's been to the Grammys. Like people literally call her and pay her thousands of dollars to just be like. Get a big thing of cheddar and make it look like Mount Rushmore.
Wow.
What was her proudest cheese sculpture? Do you recall? Did she make
she broke the world record with something where it was like 2 tons worth of cheese. I'm trying to remember what exactly the sculpture is, but
she could have been a contender.
She was a very sweet lady, you know. I mean, that's half the fun of our show. Like sometimes me and Scott will just like purposely find something off the wall just to get a laugh from each other on being able to do it. But we've done anything from we've done musicians, we've done athletes, we've done politicians. I mean, across the board. If you have ADHD, we're the perfect show because we don't do the same thing over and over.
Right.
I try to do the same thing every show to add stability.
That was our old show. What was wrong?
You know?
But so, yeah, the old show was interesting. Just like I was commenting with Scott, who was also on the old show. I would get there at 4:00 in the afternoon to set up for a 7:00 show. I think we had like at one time like 12 mics at the time, and then I would spend 2.5 hours trying to see 1 second where I could fit in a word, which never occurred half the time, just to turn around and spend 2 hours cleaning up for the next show.
And then there'd be an open mic for an hour and a half, and since I was certain comedian's bitch driver at the time, I'd drive him home. I'd get home at like 11:30 at night.
Yeah, my favorite you driving him was the time we were on the I think it was either PA or New Jersey Turnpike, and you made one wrong turn.
Oh, I know.
And then he was literally screaming, "Doug, Doug, 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 Doug!" Then you were correcting it.
I should have.
Then he started screaming at you to force you to go the wrong way.
And then he pulled up and blamed it on me for the show that we were going to be late to. And now I realize, I think we must have been going to the station or something. Now I realize how unimportant all those events really were in the scheme of things. But no, I had two of my favorite driving events ever were both involved scaring my passengers. So one of them was the former sociopath host of our show, and we were in New York. I volunteered to drive him to New York for some gig. He was running late. He was panicking. It was rush hour in New York. I had my BMW that I'd been with for 10 years. It was like I could think and it would go. And he's a nervous passenger to begin with. So people, I'd be within 6 inches of a car, zooming in and out, and I purposefully made it an uncomfortable ride. And he's looking at people, and I'm like, don't look at a car and say black people. They can read lips. If you're a foot away, you can read the lips of the guy looking at you going, black guy, Mm. And the other time, I hate to say this, I'll never feel bad about it, but that ride at night going back to my apartment on the estate in Burlew at night, where Scott was in the passenger seat, and I knew the road really well, and there was a rock wall that came within like a foot of the road as you make a hard turn.
Yeah, I remember that, right? I think I was in the back. I could have sworn there was a fourth person with us. I don't recall, but I also kind of remember there was like ice on the road, and you're just, like showing off, and we're all just looking at each other like, we're gone. We're gone. I don't know who my maker is, but I'm going to see him in a couple minutes.
In Bernardsville, it's like the wealthiest town on earth. They use Morton salt on the road. They're fancy there. Okay.
Yeah, and then all of our times we got to go down to Ocean City, Maryland for our big comedy summers. That was amazing.
Do you want to know one of the reasons I've always liked Larry Goldberg, but I think one of the reasons why Larry and I have become very close friends was because of the time before he went down the first time. I told him to get a plastic mattress cover.
Yeah, that was some of the nastiest rooms out there. And
I
then
don't think
the fact
a plastic cover would have helped.
No. I think the cockroaches would just be like, "Hey, come on now, I'm walking here." But
if I had to do it again, I'd bring a tarp and put it down on the floor. Actually, I'd cover the entire room just with a tarp. I'd start there and tape it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because there was one bed for our main person who we love to talk about. There was like a chair, and then like one of us had to sleep on the floor.
There was one night where two of us were sleeping on the floor because Dennis Ross was in the other room. So
the other rooms.
Me and you on the floor, or me and Brennan on the floor. The nights that Dennis wasn't there, that room, the nights that I was there by myself, thinking, "Wow, I'm in comedy." I'm having nightmares that the sheet. I didn't bring a mattress protector. And what's his name? He told us stories about things that happened on that mattress. Probably that weren't true, but they probably did happen anyway.
Yeah, I remember my. If you want to call it a fondest moment. So we, like I said, three of us would be in one room, and then like Dennis Ross would be in the other, and there'd be a shared bathroom. And I remember, I think it was a Sunday morning when we were driving around trying to find blueberry pancakes at a buffet, if I recall. And Dennis Ross was calling because basically, since there's two people sharing the bathroom, you lock one just to say, "Hey, somebody's in here." But I don't recall not unlocking it. I think maybe like a towel was on it and it turned it to lock or whatever. But basically, he was like panicking. He's like, "I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm not gonna make it to go to the hotel. I don't know what to do. Well, are you in there? I gotta go. It's like, "No, we're about 20 miles away." "Why'd you lock the bathroom?" And I didn't lock the bathroom. It's like, "Just go to the hotel. I'm never gonna make it. I gotta get to my car. I can't walk down those steps."
Yeah.
I believe that was the same ride where we wrote the number He's got colitis.
Oh,
He's got
oh,
colitis.
oh.
Had to fight it. He's got colitis.
That was actually a brilliant song, and all. I remember I wrote a rap for it.
Yeah, we had like 5 choruses.
Yeah. What was like one of my lines? No love from your family. It's so appalling. The only hugs you get is when you squeeze a Charmin. I think that was like one of my favorite lines.
Yeah. So, what else? Oh, I wanted to give you a little marriage advice because I recall you're telling the story of how you got into marathon running, and he like pulled you along every little bit. You've got to have boundaries, Michael. You've got your man cave. While she was pulling you along, come to the marathon and watch, you should have brought a chaise lounge and a box of bonbons and just popped them.
Now that's a race I can get behind.
A great run today. The Kenyans are in the lead. They're on a world record pace. Tom Angeli is still in the same spot at the starting line. He's going for the opposite world record.
I wanted to talk about you and running, and I thought I would mention something about Tom and I running and how long I could keep a straight face about the marathons we've run. But Tom had a marathon line prepared. What's the farthest you ever ran, Tom? In high school? Did they make you do laps?
Yeah, well, actually, they had the other kids in gym class do laps around me.
You were going to say, Doug, I sit down, I can't do laps.
Lap dances is about my speed. That's it.
No, they keep on sliding down and suing you. They hit their head on the floor.
Every poor teenage girl trying to get through college, I'm going to make it to the top of the mountain. Don't do it. Many have tried. Few have succeeded.
No, my nose doesn't even run. It's pathetic. Well, Mike, I haven't seen you in a while. I have a hard time actually walking without using a cane.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. I'm sorry to hear that.
Well.
But, the reason, for the most part, I got into it because, I needed to get the health down. I think just before I left Jersey, when I was kind of in between jobs, I went up to like 250. And now, since we've been down here, I think I'm about down to about 186 or so.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah, but you're tall. How tall are you?
6'3".
Yeah.
It works out. Sister 5'11", brother 6'2". I was 6'3". My mom could have kept going. We could have had some NBA stars in the family, but
really, you could have your own ball team.
Basketball. Well, I've been living in Atlanta. They need a team, so the ones they got doesn't really work out.
Yeah. So, Mike, what was the class that we took together?
The class that
was it a writing class?
I'm trying to. Did you take the Scotty's comedy course?
I took the introduction, the advanced, and
because I don't think you were, because you weren't in the one I was in.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think you performed at our graduation, but you weren't in the one. I think you went to the second one. I didn't go do the second one.
Okay.
But did you go to the writing class in it was in South Jersey? Who ran it? He's the guy on 101.5. I forget his name.
Steve Trevelise?
No. Cop.
Oh, Eric Potts.
Yeah, I know. I did that a couple times.
Yeah.
But those are the only ones I can remember. I'm hoping you're not bringing up the improv birthday party we did together. I hope you're not thinking of that.
The improv birthday party.
With a certain person, Melissa Allen. You weren't a part of that?
I don't remember.
Oh, that was a train wreck. You're lucky if you were a part of it and you forgot that thing.
Yeah, I may have blocked it out of my memory.
I think you did. Because I could have sworn you were on it. No, that was that was a person who didn't understand certain things in comedy. Like, even though you call it improv, you don't just go, all right, go, just walk up there. It's improv, whatever you come up with.
Yeah, right.
There was like no structure, whatever. And that was one of the prime career points of my comedy career, believe me.
I remember doing a workshop, an improv workshop with Joey Novick at the Cove.
Yeah, I wasn't part of that one. No. I took one at a college with Paul Goldenberg, but I wasn't a part of those. Yeah. Yeah, my comedy career was quite a while ago.
Now, you haven't done it in how long?
Probably, getting close to 3 years now.
Oh, wow.
3 years, yeah. I just never got comfortable on stage. I mean, you guys probably saw half the time. I mean, I've done my act hundreds of times, and I'm not going to say like I was amazing, but I'll pat myself on the back. I thought I did all right, but like no matter how many times I did it, I'd have to be in the corner, like running over every single joke that I've done 8,000 times, and it just never got it. I even remembered like one of the lower ends as I was like fading out of it. I remember I went down. It was a bar in East Windsor. I went down with you, Doug, just like hanging out with you. Yeah, and no, I don't think it was the station. I think it was
maybe Kurt Zimmerman shows.
Yeah, one of the Zimmerman shows on 1:30.
Yeah,
and I remember it was sometime in October near my birthday. And Tom, you went out there just to like support it. You weren't on the show. Doug was on the show. Okay. I remember specifically Kurt came up to us and like, hey, one of the guys didn't show up, so anybody wants to perform, I got one spot. And Tom turned to me, he's like, well, it's your birthday week, so you get the call. And I was just so out of it. I think you were even surprised, where I was just like, okay, it's yours. And I remember that week it was World Series week. So everybody in the bar was watching the World Series while you guys were trying to perform, and it was.
Oh, okay, I remember that.
I can't deny I'm sitting back going, "Damn, I was smart. Damn, I was," because I came back to his. He gave me the spot the next month, and that's when he put it in the back room, and it was more of a show then, and it felt good. But
it was
city streets.
You reminded me of one of the best laughs I ever got in comedy. I don't think it was that night, but I remember this. It was the same room where they had the World Series that night, and I think there were. Anyway, it was a big audience in the bar in the outside room. There were like 10 comedians and supporters or family of the comedians, and then there were 2 audience members. That was it. And I was the host that night. And I think I started by saying that I wanted these people out there to come in here and participate. So I'm going to say a word, and I want everybody to laugh as hard as they possibly can to make people out there think something is going on. And I said ointment, and everybody cracked up. There were only 15 people, but everybody cracked up as hard as they could. And I said cucumber, and everybody cracked up. That was it. It was the best laugh I ever got. Unfortunately, I had to ask them to laugh. But it still counts. You know,
yeah. You take any kind of victory.
I'm a corporate trainer. I used to tell people to do stuff all the time. Okay, take out your worksheet on commas. Okay, Mike, where did you put the comma in number 1? Tom, what about number 2? I'm used to that. I told him to laugh.
I'll never forget when it was me, Scott, and our friend. We performed at a strip club, which was doing a male review that night on Super Bowl Sunday.
Wow.
And it was so funny for us, and it was so painful at the same time. It was Hunkamania, it was called. like Scott even just brought up the story. I was trying to find a picture of the poster, but first we're like, okay, we're going to at least watch the game. And when we get there, the guy's like, no, we don't want any distractions for the ladies, so we're not putting the game on. So then we basically missed the entire game, and Scott went up, and he was trying anything. And, like, it's just horny women who want to see, like, buff men in their G-strings. They want – but, like, I think, like, the main comedian's name was on there, but no woman came there expecting that. And then I came up there and I was trying anything. I went on the floor wiggling, I recall, for some joke. And some woman came up to me and she gave me $2 and she's like, oh, this is for your comedy. You know, you may want to work on it. And still one of the best paydays of my comedy career.
There you go.
And then the third guy went up and yeah, he got a little bit better last, but it was just nobody cared. And then we stuck around just to see the men came out in the Navy, 8-packs coming up to the stage, and we're laughing our rear end off. Then we couldn't find any food. Then we couldn't find any bar where we could watch the game. And it was like one of the best Super Bowls ever. For anybody who's a sports fan, it was the one New England versus Seattle, which New England won on the interception on the 1-yard line to end the game. Like one of the best Super Bowls we happened to miss. So that was one of my better comedy career moments.
Tom, you performed recently at a strip club.
Yeah, up in South Hackensack.
It's famous.
Flamingo, it's called.
It's famous for its strip clubs. Hang on, let me get my pussy to pet.
Yeah, I was jealous of Tom. This is the most expensive cat in the world.
Really?
Yes, because when we put a bid on her house, this little kitty was the previous owners, and we could tell, like, the father figure didn't really care at all for the little kitty, even though the little daughter loved it. And basically they said, hey, would you mind keeping the cat, because where we're going, they would want to charge us $600 a month extra for a pet fee or whatever. So I tell everybody I got a free house and a $175,000 cat.
That's pretty funny.
I hope he gave you a discount for keeping the cat.
You should be a comedian.
I'll think about it.
Weekly things with Facebook posts to the former seller. Hey, or to his daughter, you want your cat to live? Send $10.
So, Mike,
what kind of person would it be?
Mike, that show we did together at Stangl Stage in Flemington, that must have been one of the last shows you did then.
Pretty close to it. I think the last show I did, the parents came up when I was still living in New Jersey at the time for Christmas, and I convinced Scotty to give me a guest spot so I can perform in front of my parents, and literally bombed the entire set. There is no better feeling. It's like, I'm going to show off to my parents and whatever. I think I got like 2 laughs. I think the most of the laugh was just the fact that I'm like, thanks everyone. That's my dad over there. He's so proud of me, of the way he liked my.
I remember getting a clap when my parents were in the audience. I said they were married 67 years. They were applauding, for my. I'm like, yeah, they're secret. They're both deaf. That was a joke. Anyway.
Yeah.
I still regret that I didn't really start the comedy till after my parents died. So my mom never saw me perform, but I was the best man at my brother's wedding, and I did the toast.
Oh no!
And I probably had more laughs from the audience during that toast than I did at any of my sets in comedy. It was pretty amazing.
I had one set like that, and it was almost too many laughs. It was distracting. It was when I was I don't want to say I was opening for Gilbert Gottfried, but I got to do, 5 minutes on a show that he was on. And the audience was great for me. But everything that I said was funny, they laughed. And there were like 200 or 300 people. So there were enough that I couldn't get through 3 or 4 words without a laugh. It was bad. I was really thinking of writing to on this Facebook post board, comics helping comics, on what I could do to reduce the number of laughs I get. And then I knew the answer I'd get from you, Tom. Perform.
Yeah, but once you get that high, that next show is always the come back to earth to me performance. It never ceases to amaze. And I never got to really get I've had some good shows, but I never really got to have it in front of friends. Like the odd requests I have, like my dad requested, like when he passes away, for me to do the eulogy, because he says he doesn't want people to be sad. He wants people to laugh. So that is going to be the hardest thing on the planet to like if you do good, it's like, did you just outshine your dead father? And if you bombed, did you disgrace him?
Right.
So one of the things I learned that would help you, Michael, I took care of my dad for the last 3.5 years of his life, and it got to be really, really horrible at the end. So the one eulogizing, I got a lot of comedy out of it because I was living with him as, I forget what I was going to say. Never.
The point is your dad's dead. Good job. You just opened the eulogy. I won!
You've got this one joke. It goes on for so long, and it's really hard to do because I really have to set it up that I took care of this guy and I helped him live. But after 3.5 years, I really needed a break, and I'd never had a break. I needed a vacation. I wanted to go away with my girl for a weekend. And I'm like, he doesn't want to leave home. He doesn't want anybody to come in and take care of him other than me. I'm like, there's no way I can leave. There's no safe place for him. The only safe place for him is in a hospital. And the only way he can get in a hospital is if he's sick. I was cleaning up the basement, and I found some of my mother's old pills one day, and one of them for osteoporosis looks exactly like my dad's Lasix, the pill he has to take so he doesn't die of pulmonary edema. And I thought, how bad would it be if I switched the two? He'd never know. I didn't want to kill him. I just wanted a weekend away with my girl in Jersey City. Not Jersey City, where Bayonne wanted to go to Bayonne for the weekend.
Mr. Max, his heart is very weak. His bones are strong as hell. It's amazing. We think he's the new Iron Man.
That's the punchline of my joke. With the audience moaning, "Oh my God, you almost don't." He came back with really strong bones. Yeah, that's the. Okay. Anyway, how old is your dad, Michael, that he's talking to you about doing the eulogy already?
He is 74 right now, or he'll be turning 74 next year.
So what you should do is write a comedy eulogy, and so he'll want to live as long as possible, so you never get to do it.
I'm thinking of asking, after I perform, be asking the rest of my family, what do you guys think? Can I get a new gig? You guys are all older than me. I got a good chance of being around, so. Come on, brother. You got a beer gut. We know you ain't lasting long.
Actually, Michael, it just so happens that just last show, Tom brought out his brilliant his brilliant money-making idea. The wake, the pre-funeral.
My idea, see, my thought was that, people die and they never know what others really think of them. So why not have a wake before you die and make it like a roast? And we can call it closed casket open mic. And have like 3 comics roast the
deceased.
The deceased and the almost deceased, and have like a couple of his relatives go up there and say a few words. And whoever would be the MC would be dressed in a dark suit and a carnation and have like flowers on the stage.
I could just imagine
And
somebody sees the wake and then they literally put in their will, do not allow this person to show up for my funeral. That would be like the lowest of the get out of my life moments.
It'd help wealthy people decide who to give their money to.
Oh, that would be nice. It would be nice for like my sister to try to do some like really raunchy jokes and all. My dad's like, son, you got her 1/3.
But once I got into comedy, I would go to these wakes, and I would see all these people, a captive audience sitting there, and what could very easily be a stage. All you needed was a microphone and a 15-minute set.
Poor Tom, every week, Tom's thinking, these poor people are sad. I don't like to see sad people. I want to make people laugh. So he runs up. Every time the priest says, is there anybody who would like to say something? Yeah, Father. Hey, everyone. Hey, how you doing? I'm Tom.
Now that's a good improv class. Like, don't even go to a family member's funeral. Just just look at the casket and go, all right, I can get 5 minutes out of this.
Wedding crashers. This could be funeral crashers.
You could be the wake crasher, Tom. Where do they have the best food, though? What do you do after a wake? A repast?
Yeah.
Is it? I went to a repast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do they call it a repast?
Because you overeat and repast win.
So it's a pass through.
Yeah, all right.
I thought it's like you're trying to bring him back like he was in the past.
Well, that's where they call it a wake.
Oh, that's right. Because back in the day, they used to by accident bury people while they were alive.
Yeah, I hate when that happens.
So are you supposed to make a lot of loud noise at a wake and bang on the coffin to make sure?
I don't know.
Well, I do know, like, some people were buried with, like, a string and a bell to the front, where they say, like, back in the old days where doctors just said, well, we put a bunch of leeches on him and he didn't wake up, he's dead. So they would do that. So if somebody was accidentally down there, it's like, oh, all right, our bad. Bring them up.
Until the oxygen runs out. So that gives them like three hours to wake up.
Well, that's why wakes were customarily 3 days long, to make sure that the person was really dead.
And these are the days before formaldehyde, so that must have been around the second day. It'd be like, I'm pretty confident in this. I'm not sure we had to come back here for Sundays.
See, in my family, the repast was 3 days long.
You know, you made me think of these fine aged beefs. And here's an animal that died, months ago, and they put it in a refrigerator, and it's supposedly really good for you. So I don't know, wouldn't humans like age? Wouldn't we get more tender over time?
Don't care to find out.
I'm seriously thinking they can bury you with a little tree. They put you in like a bag and dig a hole and put a sapling, I guess, in your mouth or something, and you're the nourishment for the tree.
Was that like a bay leaf?
Well, no, they do that now with the tree pods. Yeah. Your you're buried in a pod that contains the roots of a tree, and you, in essence, become the tree.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a Jewish funeral. Very inexpensive. All you need is a hole and a sapling. No, don't put the tree there. Put it, wrap it wrap his stomach around. No, not there.
I'm just worried about like reincarnation. So like, if you literally come back as that tree, I mean, trees last like 1,000 years, and so you'll be spending 1,000 years just like this, going,
Hey,
"Is this my day?"
I am Groot.
Yeah, like you get pissed off. It's like, oh, no squirrel family in my uterus.
No, I definitely have woodpecker.
So, Michael, did you ever read Lord of the Rings?
No, I didn't. Saw the movies, never read the books.
Did you?
I did many, many moons ago.
No, don't let me interrupt you. Go and eat.
I think I will.
Eating.
I have to go for blood work tomorrow. I can't eat after a certain time.
Okay, diabetes, but go ahead and eat. It's okay. It's so unprofessional, Tom.
Hey.
We're on radio and nobody can see it.
I'll do the play-by-play. Okay, he's on chew number 7, 8. Wow, that is a tough apple.
Anyway,
he is enjoying.
Rings, there were creatures known as Ents that were trees, E-N-T-S, and it would take them like months. When one would see another, it would take them months just to say hello, because they lived, for centuries.
I might actually have a figure of that. Let me check. Give me one sec.
You have a figure of an Ent. So, why, we can speculate on why would someone have a figure of an Ent?
I don't know.
There's a glare on there, but can you see it?
Was that an Ent? It's kind of hard with the plastic, but I saw the Lord of the Rings. Is there a tree there?
See if I can get it.
The original packaging. I don't want you to devalue your Ent.
Hold on. Yeah. It says Treebeard.
Oh, I think Treebeard might have been an Ent. Yep.
There you go. It's stuck in there. I'm going to just leave it in there, but you get the gist of it. For those of you listening on radio, that was very entertaining.
Captivating radio.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, I wanted to talk to you about racing a little bit because I know you like NASCAR. Do you watch Formula One racing at all?
I'll look at the highlights. I haven't had the ability to watch an entire race of F1. It's not just F1 like Indy and stuff like that. It just never got into my bloodstream, if you will. I mean, I got into NASCAR through my brother, so that's how I got into that sport. But
how did NASCAR? That's from your brother, NASCAR?
Yeah, he was always a NASCAR fan. He loved it for years. He just said one time, "Why don't you watch? I'm going to watch the 500." And I was like, "Oh, this is exciting." Bond with my brother. Then I got into it, and then he gave up on it. So now it's just me.
And what's the 500 for you? Is Daytona, right?
Daytona 500's the big one. Season starts off with the biggest race of the year.
I hear 500, I think Indy. They always had the Indy 500 on my birthday. I was born on Memorial Day back when that was the day off. It was, whatever day it was on.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest race day of the year. You got Monaco, followed by Indy 500, followed by the Charlotte 600 and NASCAR.
Yep. Well, Monaco sometimes came a week earlier, but that's how I got into F1, from watching Indy and then following up with watching Monaco.
Now, I'm learning that there's a lot of different types of races. Do any of the races make right turns?
Road courses. You'll get left and rights.
Every Formula One track has right and left turns. They're typically, I'm trying to think, they're typically counterclockwise, I believe, but there are a few that are clockwise, but there's still left and right turns in it. And does NASCAR have street races?
They're going to have their first one next year. It's the new one in Austin, Texas. They're going to race on that.
One track at the Formula One track, I bet.
Yeah, the one in Austin, Texas. So that's kind of a big deal. Like they don't do the whole shut down a street and race on it kind of thing. I mean, the biggest thing, the cars are so heavy, it's near impossible to like steer in one of those, let alone pass in a street course like that. So, but.
And they're made to run, 220 or 240, pretty much is what I see. Whatever your top speeds are.
Doug, with your proclivity to dress like Diana Ross, do you prefer drag racing?
What is it? What's the NASCAR top speed at the end of a straightaway?
Depends on the track. Like I think Indy, they can get up to about 210 or so. I mean, they've had restrictor plates, and now they've got rid of restrictor plates, and they do something with the carburetors to kind of slow them down, because I mean when they were going to Talladega at one point, they were getting up to near 230, 240, and that was just too dangerous for them cars. Especially, this was pre what happened to Dale Earnhardt, where they finally said, okay, maybe we should actually make these cars safe.
We've made amazing advances, and the accident in Formula One, if our listening fan hasn't seen it, you really should, Kathy. Formula One, a guy hit, he was 2/3 of the way down a straightaway, maybe going 180, and he went through metal barriers, which split the car in half. Big fireball. Everybody's thinking he's dead. And the cockpit portion of the car was fine. He broke, I think he broke a leg or a rib or something like that, but he...
Now, the car was a Honda accordion, right?
There was a similar incident in NASCAR once, Michael Waltrip. They were down in Bristol, and Bristol, it's like a very short track. It's like a little between a half and 3/4 track. But basically what happened was he came off a turn, and they used to have a gate where the wall is, and somebody didn't really like shut the gate fully to lock it in. So he hit the mark perfectly, and literally his car went in half. And how they got him out of the car was just literally walk up to him and unbuckle his seatbelt, because there's no car on the other side.
Wow.
Like, he was literally probably about 3 inches away from death.
Wow. See, that's why I carry my own airbag.
You wanted to worry about getting the car to speed with you in the driver's seat there, Tom.
Yeah.
I feel terrible, but I did a bit about Tom. We were on a show together shortly after we had driven somewhere. I forget where we drove.
Delaware.
I'm like, I'd never driven with Tom. I didn't know this about the driving with the very heavy person on your right. In order to get to Delaware, I had to, what did I say? I had to aim to Atlantic City so that the curve ended us up down in Delaware. Like a little plane, you gotta. Although the truth is, I didn't notice it at all. Even in that tiny little car.
What's the farthest you've gone for a gig so far?
Probably Delaware.
No,
because then Ocean City would be longer.
Ocean City, right.
I guess Ocean City.
Yeah.
No, actually, but the longest I drove was literally to Connecticut. It took me about 5.5 hours on 95 to get to the casino to perform on a show where I would either get paid or would get beaten by a dominatrix based on the audience response. So I couldn't lose. So actually, anyway, it was 5.5 hours to drive, and it should have been like 2 hours. But I went up the night and stayed in a hotel. Anyway, but the funny part of that story is, and I said it very matter-of-factly like I always do, I happened to know the dominatrix because I'd performed with her on a comedy club. And so she was connected to the comedians and she was going to be the dominatrix that night. So I've got a girlfriend now of, 3.5 years. And she's like, you're going to perform on the show and maybe get beaten by a dominatrix? And I said, don't worry, honey, I know her.
I don't mean anything. I know this Chicky D for a while. It's cool. It's cool. She'll slap me around and be like, you. Be cool.
Yeah, honey, you'd love her. All she does is beat me and I yell in pain.
So basically it was like our old podcast is what you're telling me. Because I was just thinking, actually, the longest I did further down Maryland, where we were on the tip of Virginia. We were on some island that was legally Maryland, so they didn't have to worry about some drinking laws in Virginia or something like that. But that was oddly the special weekend in question for you, where I provided you some news that weekend there, Doug, which kind of laid out the ending of our old podcast.
Yeah. Interesting backwater we found ourselves in. So, but all told, Michael, do you look back to your comedy experience with fondness?
I do. It got me out there. It got me some good friends.
It got wife, didn't it?
Yeah, it got me my wife. My wife was her friend. We used to hang with Chips Cooney, and she would come to support it. And we were friends for a while, and now she's in Georgia in my household. So cannot complain about that.
You have a great wife. And I saw you guys voted early. When do they expect the tally to actually be done in your state?
The special election, that's going to be January 4th is the end of the election. So I mean,
the ballots beforehand, the mail-in ballots.
I don't know if we have I don't know officially what our law is, because it took a good week for us to close out our presidential election.
And then the third time. Okay,
pretty much. So I would assume probably we'll know by mid-January the result. I mean, it all depends on how it goes out, because it's usually red down here, and usually special elections don't turn things. Obviously, these are special conditions, so it's kind of wait and see kind of moment.
I saw Kamala was down there today. You'll get a lot of visitors. I'm sure Obama will come. I'm sure Biden will come again. Tom, do you think you're planning on going down to Georgia and rallying the masses to get out and vote?
I don't know about that. I have a hard time getting out the door. I was in Georgia once, Atlanta, on a business trip, and I was walking either to or from the airport, and I lost the heel on my shoe. I felt like such a woman. No, it was when I got there. I was trying to get a ride to my hotel, lost my heel, and then when I went back to the airport to return home, I found the freaking heel.
How does a guy lose a heel?
It just, it's how that's like a composite.
No, were you tangoing or something in the airport?
I don't know. All I know is to get a new shoe, I had to find what do you call?
It's a locksmith, Tom.
I lost my thought.
I know what you're talking about.
I was going to say a locksmith, but that's not it. A blacksmith.
Yeah, you go to a blacksmith. Nay, not that.
So was it in the exact same spot where you broke it off, or did you have to go loss of found?
Yes, no, it was in the street near the curb, and I didn't find it because I was in a rush when I got there. But when I returned back to to the airport. It was like right there, staring at me.
I have very fond memories of Atlanta because of one night with a wonderful woman. Her name was Debbie. I went to visit a friend of mine who was in law school, and she was one of the women that came over one night to visit, and I'm telling her what I'm doing, and she's like, "Oh, that's so interesting."
I was in love with a Debbie once. Little Debbie.
Ooh, that's fascinating. And yada, yada, yada. I had one of the most wonderful nights I ever had.
I thought you were going to tell me that Debbie went to Dallas.
This was Atlanta.
Now, Atlanta, when I went, the whole freaking place was under construction. Anywhere you went, it was like a traffic jam. Is it still that way or no?
I don't see like a lot of construction down here. I think we're good, but like in the main heart of the city, like I remember when I first came, when I just visited, because my parents moved down here well before I came down here. I remember they took me to the Atlanta Aquarium. It's like the biggest in the U.S. But we're like going through the tour, and my dad kept on emphasizing, "All right, we gotta leave by 3. We gotta leave by 3." I'm like, yeah, it's fine. He's like, "No, you do not understand. If we do not leave by 3, we are going to be in traffic, and we are not moving for 2 hours." So that was it. I always get a laugh. Like he had the same thing with my uncle was down here at the time, and like he kept on saying, like every time he's like, "All right, Billy, let's go." And oh, look at the tortoises over here. I want to check that. Billy, we gotta go. It's 2:50. We gotta go. Oh, look, they got seals over here. Look, hey, everyone, look at the seals.
When I moved from St. Louis, I was there for like 15 years back to New Jersey. The pace had picked up so much. Anyway, when I hear people complaining about traffic in any other part of the country other than like the West Coast, because I took one horrible trip driving from San Francisco down to LA, it was like 20 hours. Anyway. So we've wasted more than,
It's been very enlightening. How dare you?
We've done our time. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have been able to do this show if it were not for the behest of
Jack Hoffman of J. Irwin Productions.
That's right. Don't forget the COVID comedy special. Get a comedian to clean your bathroom for only $15. That's for the month of December. So write to Jack at jirwinproductions.com. Tell him Doug sent you. They'll say, you want a comedian to do what? Who told you? Well, okay, I'll look.
But anyway, Mike, it's really good to see you. I miss you.
It's great to see you guys and all. I mean, I miss my Jersey people. I don't miss the price of stuff in New Jersey, but I do miss the people in the state, and I appreciate the time. And if you guys don't mind, I will plug again my podcast, the Verbal Shenanigans Podcast, with me and Scott Brennan. We put out an episode every week. We do a little comedy banter. We play some games, and we're going to have an interesting guest every week. This Monday, we are releasing Scott Schwartz, who played Flick on Christmas Story. So that was a fun interview. And like I said, if you're not interested in that, we have nonstop athletes, musicians, weird people, you name it. We've pretty much done it. It's called Verbal Shenanigans. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and all the other major platforms.
Nice. All right. Well, this has been another show. This will be airing Tuesday, which we're recording it. Today is Monday. And this is our last show before Christmas? Yeah.
Yep.
Christmas is this week.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
Thank you. I guess technically you too, but not technically. I don't know how that works.
Mom, I got a Christmas rock with your name on it.
Thank you. Rock on. All right. Well, until next time, this is Funny Talk with Manjeli and Max, and our special guest, Mike Burlew. Nanu Nanu.